I'm Emily Mashak, and you're listening to Tuned In to NoCo, Townsquare media show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I have Paul Donnelly from the Food Bank of Larimer County back in the studio again to talk about the second annual Townsquare Cares Feeding NoCo. So thank you so much for joining me today again, Paul.
Thank you, Emily. Great to be here.
Of course. Now, we are so excited to be working with the Food Bank for Townsquare Cares. Our listeners know about it from us, but what does this promotion mean to you and from the Food Bank's perspective?
I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. For us, it is getting to perhaps reintroduce ourselves to your listeners and basically just share with them some of the work we're doing in the community. I think that is such an important benefit of Town Square Cares. Certainly, the support we receive from it is fantastic, but just getting to talk to a new group of people or getting to kind of share what we're doing is just a great opportunity.
Now, we all know how important it is to give back to the community, but how much of an issue is food insecurity right now in NoCo?
That is actually a really good question because I've been talking to several people lately who've kind of asked the same question. And pre-COVID, we were actually getting some traction on food insecurity in northern Colorado and specifically Larimer County. Feeding America does a lot of work throughout every year compiling data and that sort of thing. And we were actually seeing some food insecurity decreases coming into the beginning of 2020. Since the pandemic, of course, things have changed drastically. And so, just from a numbers point of view, I think Feeding America is estimating that we will go from something in the 9.5% food insecurity rate in Larimer County to nearly 15%. So, that's a pretty drastic increase in only a few months. Across the board in the services that we provide, we're seeing increases, whether it's our food pantries, where we are starting to creep up into the 500 household per day that we're serving at either of our locations, to the amount of food that we're distributing to our nursing network agency partners. So those are the folks who have their own clients that they distribute food to. So we're seeing just across the board an increase in need in Larimer County.
Right. And need usually tends to increase around the holidays anyway, right?
It does, and not only need, but also the focus on the need. And so that's a little bit where Town Square Cares comes in, and it helps us put a spotlight on the need in northern Colorado.
Now, when people donate to Town Square Cares, how will their generosity specifically affect the food bank and the community?
Absolutely. Well, I think the biggest thing for us as we try to expand services, we're trying to do a lot of different things in the community, whether it's pop-up pantries, taking those mobile food trucks into underserved areas of the community, or whether it's doing what we call SNAP outreach, which is helping people sign up for benefits that they qualify for. No matter what the services are that we're talking about, it all comes down to food. And we can provide all the services in the world, but if you don't have the food to actually get to people, then there's a constriction there. So for me, what I'm telling people all the time is, at the end of the day, if it's a financial donation, fantastic. That will go to support our services, but also help us procure food. Same thing, if you are just inclined to do a food donation, fantastic. We just ask that everybody practice safe COVID protocols and that, but we are certainly still receiving or accepting food. And so the need is only growing. And so monetary support, food support, it all goes to that bottom line of sourcing food and getting food out to where it needs to go.
For those who do want to donate by giving food, are there specific items that you really need right now?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we do. If you go to the Want to Help section of foodbanklarimer.org, there is a list of kind of our most wanted foods. And certainly from a shelf-stable point of view, these are your typical canned goods or macaroni and cheese or peanut butter. What we always say, peanut butter is our gold. Because these are items that a lot of different groups of folks can take advantage of. They just, by the term shelf stable, they have a long life. And so for our agency partners who don't necessarily have the ability to have cooler and freezer space, shelf stable items is fantastic for what they can distribute to their clients. So the main thing we always want to be careful of is food safety, right? So frozen is great, or shelf stable is fantastic. So again, I would go to the Want to Help section of foodbanklarimer.org. But yes, the bottom line is, well, we are happy to accept your food.
Aside from donating through Town Square Cares, I know the food bank's always looking for volunteers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we here at Town Square, we were able to go last week. I had such a fun time. How can listeners participate as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes, and you and I have talked about this in the past, that the volunteer need tends to get lost in some of the shuffle. especially with COVID and the pandemic and everything that's going on. And for us, our need has only escalated through the pandemic. And so the community support we got originally was fantastic. People literally came out in droves, but life kind of tends to get back to normal. Kids go back to school or they're doing remote learning. People get back to work. So right now, we have 3 locations. People can come and kind of create their own schedule. Most of the shifts are a couple hours long, but if you only have 1 hour of time to give, we're happy for you to come in and just give us an hour of time. So we have our pantry in Fort Collins, we have our pantry in Loveland, and then we have our main distribution warehouse near the Northern Colorado Airport in Loveland. So if you're inclined, want to do something for the holidays, have a few hours you want to give, you can just visit, again, foodbanklarimer.org, go to the volunteer section, and you can quickly sign up, and that's all it takes.
Awesome. And through the years that you've worked for the food bank, can you share maybe a personal story about how you've seen it make an impact on a specific person or on the Northern Colorado community?
Oh, that's really funny that you asked that. We've got, again, on our website, we have a client story section, and right now we're featuring this one fantastic client story, and it's not, as I said in the lead up to the story, it's not your typical client story because it's very much about a client who had some health issues, found herself, her name's Diana, found herself in need, like so many of us do. And she finally convinced herself that she was going to go to the food bank and ask for assistance. She came in, she got signed up, and she was able to shop with us. And through that process, she came to meet one of our volunteers, a long-serving volunteer named Evelyn. Evelyn's an older volunteer, but still is out there just, literally day in and day out helping the food bank. And so one day these two this volunteer and this client met, and they met in a unique way when Diana came up and just asked out of the blue, do you happen to have any Cheetos? And so Evelyn, being kind of just her usual self, was like, no, we don't have any Cheetos today. Anyway, fast forward a couple of days, couple of weeks later, Diana comes in again, Evelyn sees her, we have Cheetos. She gives her Cheetos, and a friendship is born. And so the story, as we tell it on our website, is just how important just that human connection is. It's certainly about making sure people have access to food, but in addition to that, it's like, especially during the pandemic, that they have social connectivity. And what people are finding now with our drive-through service, our drive-through food distribution, is that they're still finding ways, even as they pull up in their cars, open the trunk, get out, load their food, or just wave as they go by. There's still that human connectivity. A couple of weeks ago, several of our volunteers put together a luau day at our Loveland pantry, where it was nothing more than when you pulled up, they gave you a lei if you wanted one, and then they gave out just little treats and so forth, just trying to make everybody feel better. And because a lot of people know that this is a little bit of a long haul for COVID and that social connectivity is not going to be there for a while. And so we're just trying to do whatever we can to certainly provide food, but also a little social, friendship along the way.
Yeah, that's such a sweet story. I love that. And I thought it was a little interesting when you said that when Diana convinced herself to go to the food bank. Do you think that people often struggle with making that decision to go?
Absolutely. And the way that she put it in the story was basically when she turned down the driveway leading into our pantry, she's like, it wasn't my intention to come here today, but I find myself here. And I think that that's what it is for a lot of people, is that, especially right now with the pandemic, we're seeing so many first-time food bank clients who have never needed assistance before, but given the severity of the pandemic and what it's doing to the economy, there's so many people that are finding themselves in need. And so Diana just kind of represents all of those people, whether it's a decrease in hours, a job loss, decrease in pay, loss of job, health issues, any of those things can cause you to need assistance. And so I think that initial realization that you might need that help is sometimes tough for people, but we can't stress enough that our main goal is to help people get food. If you need food, come see us. We'll be glad to help.
That's great. And now, aside from Townsquare Cares, you are also hosting or working with New Belgium for the Tour de Turkey on November 19th. For those who are unfamiliar, what is this?
Well, it's something, that's for sure. I give full credit to our operations team who, this is our Thanksgiving turkey drive. We do this year in and year out, and it's a big deal for our Poudre School District schools, for the folks in the community who need a little assistance during Thanksgiving. And And so basically what happened is our operations team was working through the logistics of what our turkey drive was going to look like this year. And our operations director came into our office and was basically like, what do you think of Tour de Turkey? And we're like, that's great, but we kind of need New Belgium to help out with that. And so long story short, New Belgium could not have been happier to partner with us on this event. Also, Nordson Medical is a great sponsor. They're a longtime sponsor of the food bank. So between New Belgium Brewery and Nordson Medical, we've got some great partners making this hopefully fun, contactless, safe, all of the things that we want this time of year. But essentially, two locations, Loveland and Fort Collins. Bring a turkey. It is November 19th. It's from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And essentially, you can pull up, drop off a frozen turkey. Frozen's very important. And in Fort Collins, New Belgium, with a little bit of a homage to Tour de Fat, they're building us a giant Tour de Fat inspired, I say giant, relatively giant, a big slide where you can pull up and just put your turkey down the slide, and it's contactless. Also, at both locations, because New Belgium is being very generous in their assistance with us this year, the first 250 donors at each location will receive a token for a six-pack of New Belgium beer. So that's fantastic. Also, at both locations, there's going to be a handful of lucky donors who win a $50 New Belgium gift pack. So a lot of generosity there. New Belgium's going to have their Fat Tire mobile unit there. There's probably going to be a lot of other fun things going on. Down in Loveland, not only can you take advantage of some of those great New Belgium giveaways, but the UC Health mobile blood bus will be there as well. So if anybody's interested in not only making a difference from a turkey donation point of view, but also a blood donation, it's a one-stop shop on the 19th.
I love it. Helping the community and getting beer. That sounds awesome.
It's a thing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What else would you like listeners to know about either Townsquare Cares or the Tour de Turkey this year?
I think the thing that kind of jumps out at me about Townsquare Cares is really the community partnership. And we say this all the time, but this is a big deal for Townsquare Media to go through this. You certainly don't have to do this, but the partnership is greatly appreciated. Not only was your team at our locations last week volunteering, but this is a month-long campaign where you devote a significant amount of time helping us spread the message about the food bank, the work we do in the community. So we can't say thank you enough for that, because it is through partnerships like that. We've talked about Townsquare Media. We've talked about New Belgium. We've talked about Nordson Medical. Those are just a few examples of the different organizations and businesses that come out to support us. So it's great that we have all the support, but somebody that's willing to do a long-haul event and really keep that top of mind for the holidays is fantastic for us. And at the end of the day, what it's all about is kind of getting the message out. If you need help, this is where you go. If you want to help, this is how you can do it.
Agreed. And we here at Townsquare are so grateful to be working with the food bank again. We love doing it. Thank you so much again, Paul, for coming in. It's always great to have you. And I can't wait to see how everything goes this month.
Thank you, Emily.
Again, that was Paul Donnelly with the Food Bank for Larimer County talking about Townsquare Cares Feeding NoCo. You can donate to Townsquare Cares by visiting feednoco.org or by texting Feed NoCo to 50155.